Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session Benefits of Vendor Neutral Network Security Certification. I'm Richa, and I'll be your host for the day. Our speaker for the session is Mr. Ogochukwu Ifeani Frank, Chief Technology Strategist, Debbie Michelle Group. Please note the session will be in listen only mode and will last for 40 minutes, out of which last 10 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A, requesting all the participants to post your questions in the Q&A window. Should you need any assistance during the session, please use the chat box. Also, we do have two criteria for certification. A, participant needs to attend the complete webinar. B, fill in the survey and write answers to the three questions based on the webinar, which we will send to you one day post the webinar. About our speaker, Mr. Fiani, he's a certified management trainer, air traffic safety electronics specialist, Premier Nigeria's public sector CIO and world-class CIO, IT ambassador, Microsoft hero, founder CIO Masterclass Africa, CXO Africa Initiative, founding member of IDC West Africa CIO, Technology Advisory Council, EC Council Global Advisory Board member, currently Chief Technology Strategist, Debbie Michelle Consulting, a facilitator, coach, and public speaker with a good view, but also with a fascinating developing nation perspective. So, without any further ado, I would now hand over the session to you, Mr. Fiani. You can go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, Richa, and Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to this very interesting webinar today. I'm just going to go straight ahead and just share with you my thoughts on the topic for today. So I'm just going to get out of your way right now, and let's get started. All right, so our topic today, like you've heard, is actually the benefits of a vendor-neutral network security certification. And already I've been introduced, so I'm just going to skip this. Let's just go to the agenda for today. We're going to do quick introductions. What is certification? The evolution of certification, vendor specific, what does that mean? Vendor neutral, what does that mean? We're going to look at types of vendor neutral. We're going to also look at factors that are influencing vendor neutral certification today. Then we're going to do some comparisons as well. We'll look at trends in certification today. We're going to look at features of vendor neutral certification. What are the benefits, really? Of course, we're going to wrap up from there and we'll take Q&A. So that's basically our agenda for today. So once again, welcome to this webinar, and get your questions ready. At the end of this, my talk, we can take the questions. So let's just go ahead and hit it. Now, you know, the beauty of this is the fact that in our world of technology, there's rapid technology change, and the pace is very frenetic. I mean, it's not static. It's very dynamic. It's very frenetic. And basically, with the fourth industrial revolution where we are today, the demand for highly skilled IT professionals who has the requisite competence and capability in the workforce is growing, such that they need to be able to enable, apply, support, configure, and adapt IT products and services in the organizations. That's something that is very critical today in our world. Getting the right skill set, the right competencies to be able to deliver value to the organization. Of course, IT career is very rewarding, and it's got long longevity because technology is what drives the world today. And there's so many career options within the IT scope. I mean, security, networking, cloud professional, system admin, DevOps, and all of that. And of course, for you to be able to sustain your career within the IT field and be current and relevant in the ever-changing world of technology, we need to earn certifications that basically talks about our competencies, our skill set, you know, because that's what measures and shows that you and I as professionals are qualified to deliver value to an organization. Now, this has become more amplified now because COVID-19 has changed everything. It has disrupted the world, changed the way things happen in the world today. We're into a new normal right now. Now, what has happened? Rather than work from the office, that's been the norm before, now it's work from home. And that in itself also created issues and challenges it created opportunities, and also created challenges for IT security professionals because the touch points have moved from the corporate office, which is well well protected using different IT tools, security tools, moving to homes where they never bothered to protect their mobile devices, their laptops, and all that because it's just home. So the challenge has increased. That is why it's important that IT professionals, security professionals actually need to step into the situation and begin to up their game. So COVID-19 has dramatically disrupted the whole IT landscape, security landscape, moving the attack uh, points to the homes, no longer the corporate offices. So that's something that's a change that has happened. It's created a shift. COVID-19 has created a shift for us. And just to give us a hands up, the 2020 report by Ponemon Institute basically talks about the cost of data breach in 2020. They discovered that 50% of the breaches were caused by malicious attack. 80% breaches were caused through customer PII and employee PII and IP. So like I said, the touch point has moved from the corporate environment to the homes. So work from home has become the norm. Remote working has become the norm today. Of course, I mean, the cost in terms of dollars was $3.9 million cost in terms of data breach alone in 2020. Again, that's huge. So again, I'm just trying to underscore the point that IT security certification is critical to be able to mitigate and protect our corporate environments, which is moving from the physical office now to our homes remotely today. Now, what is certification really? What does that mean really? I mean, I'm just going to look at a few definitions of what that is. Certification is the act of certifying. Certifying is a written representation of guarantee that something or someone is authentic. That's from CLAP 2000. It also says that it's a group of individuals who have shown competency in their chosen field of labor by passing an examination set forth by a governing body to determine who is eligible for certification. I mean, that's according to SHORT 2002. So just definitions basically, so we can actually be on the same page here. Well, IT certification programs basically are meant to respond to industry needs and help to provide up-to-date requisite trainings for continuously changing skill set because technology keeps evolving, keeps changing, and it's very rapid. So industry certification basically have become a standard requirement for employment for many IT jobs, including security, making human resource managers know that anyone with those skills and competencies are people that meet requirements for employment in the organizations. So basically, IT certification essentially provide what I call verifiable skills, knowledge, and competence related to either a broad or specific type of technology, hardware, software, or IT product. So either way, either broad or specific, we're going to look at what that means, the broad or specific, as we discuss here today. Now, how did that start? How did the IT certification begin? I mean, it started with Novel Inc., a networking vendor in the US way back in the 80s. I mean, they were actually the #1 network providers then. So they developed this certified novel engineer certification program, which again used to ensure that anybody who has those skills must have gone through that certification. Needed to provide validity to those who attend that certification. Well, after they started, so years down the road, the 1990s, other OEMs, vendor-specific OEMs, followed suit and began to develop their own certification programs as well. Of course, these companies created the certification for their products to increase demand, their product demand, value, and loyalty. I mean, it's like a catch, basically. Anyway, but take it away from there. In 2001, EC Council, which is a vendor neutral certification board, they came on the scene and basically disrupted the entire certification landscape with its premium grade value-driven certification, which we're going to look at, soon. The list of certification that EC Council basically offers, which are globally recognized. So that's how certification began within the IT landscape globally. Novel Inc. actually started it. So we're looking at vendor specific. Also, we're looking at vendor neutral, vendor agnostic, vendor specific. What does it mean to be vendor specific certification? Okay, so it simply means proprietary certification where holders become certified with the skills that are necessary for that particular OEM certification as OEM application and system. So it's specific to that particular OEM technology and product. So specific technologies, the products, software platforms, just to give them insight into their product features and functionality, and enable Nigeria to be able to apply that knowledge to that specific product in terms of configuring it for the particular purpose and use. It basically establishes credibility and expertise for the use of that product in a specific tool, a specific manner. So it's limited in terms of scope. So it addresses a particular product or technology. So again, remember I talked about the fact that there's a broad and there's a specific. So we're looking at what vendor specific basically means here. So vendor-oriented certifications were established as a way to support products, increase their market share basically, and build a knowledge sales force for themselves. So it's about branding their technology to ensure that they get market share and all of that. So that's the essence. That's part of the primary essence of vendor specific. So holding the market basically. So how do they operate? How do they moderate it in terms of ensuring standard and competence and all of that? So vendor specific certifications and curriculum are developed and monitored by a particular vendor itself, just the vendor or the product manufacturer, and it focuses on its own IT product, the company's technology, service, and product line. That's what it focuses on essentially. So it doesn't go outside of that scope. So it's restricted, So it covers basically the IT tools and technologies, which usually focus on demonstrating expertise in specific tools, not broad-based tools, which is something we need to know here. So again, they do not necessarily cover the why behind the what or the why behind the how. So the what is about configuring a particular product or technology to meet a certain need. But the why behind that what is not addressed in vendor-specific certifications, because you're looking at compliance issues, regulatory issues, we're looking at risk management issues and all of that, which are not addressed. Basically, what happens is you're looking at product features and functionality in a vendor-specific environment. So all of those things, underlining things that govern the way, the why before the what is not addressed. So again, it doesn't allow the IT security professional to actually, have a knowledge of the others underlying requirements that actually gives them the know-how of, okay, this is why this is happening. It's just about the what. So moving away from that, we're going to look at vendor neutral. What does that mean basically? According to ProSoft Learning Inc., in 2005, they defined vendor neutral certification as those that focus on job skills. Remember, vendor specific has to do with technology and tools proprietary to a particular company, OEM. So for vendor neutral, focus on job skills by demonstrating the key concepts that are critical to current marketplace job role, marketplace job current, okay, relevant. And they have the core objectives of basically, often reinforced through popular hardware and software tools, but focus on job skills rather than software hardware skills, even though in the methodology and technologies surrounding a particular job role. So they look at broad-based. It's not limited. It's not restrictive. It's actually broad-based. Okay. So it's basically developed and monitored by consortium. So not by the product owner or the product manufacturer or the OEM. It's actually by consortium of non-profit organizations, industrial associations, training companies that develop standards and content through the use of expert committees, unbiased, unprejudiced committees consisting of individuals from industry, academia, and professional associations of societies, inclusive of both the public and private sector groups or entities. So vendor neutral. Again, this certification basically, they consider technologies, how technologies work, how they work by focusing on concepts relative to underlying technology, not on a particular vendor's product or proprietary technology. So vendor neutral refers to an approach that aims at to demonstrate broad compatibility and interchangeability of technologies, tools, and products. So it focuses across all of the available products and technologies in the market, not just one. So it's broad-based. So the compatibility and interchangeability of those technology and tools and products is what they focus on and deliver to would be potential certifying IT professionals. They prepare individuals to work in multi-vendor environments. I'll talk about this a little bit more. Then, of course, through vendor neutral exams, concept-oriented and focused on general knowledge. Through the vendor neutral exam actually are concept-oriented, and they focus on the general knowledge important to practitioners. Like I said, things like compliance issues. I mean, we hear about the GDPR and all of that. So data protection rules and all that. So these are not the things that vendor-specific regulation bother about. So they bother about how to configure the devices, whether it's an IDS device or IPS device, just to configure it basically to actually meet the requirement of what the IDS, IPS is supposed to do. So they are concept-oriented and they focus on general knowledge important to practitioners. A variety of vendor-specific content is covered in these exams, reflecting the widespread adaptation of various technologies. So what does that tell us basically? In the training, the curriculum, if most of the popular technologies and tools are actually discussed and talked about, and people are trained on it to understand and be able to apply it. So it's actually cross-based, you know. So now, having said that, we looked at vendor-specific certifications. We looked at vendor-neutral certifications. Let's look at type of vendor-neutral certification that are available today. There are quite a lot of them. There are quite a lot of them, from entry point to expert, advanced level. And they cover subjects like security, project management, cloud services, system administration, network, and all of that. But EC Council, for example, has the following range of globally accepted and applicable certification, which I'm just going to list them here. I mean, for executive management, you have the Certified Chief Information Security Officer, CCSO. Of course, across the length and breadth of application security, there are certifications on that, computer forensics, penetration testing, ethical hacking, BC and DR, security fundamentals, encryption, network security, where CND actually sits, which I'm going to talk about soon, the blockchain, incident handling, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing. Others include GDPR, game building, government and military, veterans program. These are just the whole bouquet of EC Council certification program. Broad-based knowledge to work across various platforms. Again, business model of the company. Now, most companies today do not depend on one vendor for a particular solution. No, they look at different vendors for the same kind of solution, so that they won't be tied down to a particular vendor. Okay. Again, the issue of cost reduction in cost, operational cost, doing more with less. So organizations are looking for the best fit for the organization and looking for the lowest cost in those operating costs. Flexibility for more beneficial technologies and solutions in procurement decision making. So it gives them that ability to be able to look at various technologies, to be able to know that, okay, within in our organization, we have the necessary competence and skills across technologies and tools. Therefore, we can afford to procure or buy in technology to be able to mitigate cyber attacks, in our organization. Vendor locking. So testing aptitude on specific system programs. So you're not locked into a particular vendor. You're open because you're operating from a broad-based perspective. Ability to work in a multi-vendor product to technology development, I talk about it a lot. Now, the rapid change in technology and product and tools also influences this. Like I said initially, the rate of change of technology, it's frenetic pace. So if you're locked in a particular technology or product, when the change happens, I mean, you've actually lost your currency in that certification. So you need to start again and all that. But vendor neutral basically takes everything and it works across platforms. So you are actually essentially current most of the time. This is actually an analysis, a comparison, from a document from the Homeland Security in the US, 2008, Homeland Security Department US. So it's looking at 3 different IT security roles: the executive role, the functional role, and the corollary role. Now, the executive role basically has to do with the information security officer. Functional role has to do with IT security professional and IT security engineer. Of course, the other one is privacy professional. Now, there are about 10 domains that they looked at: data security, forensics, enterprise continuity, up to systems and application security. Now, the M stands for manage, the D stands for design, the I stands for implement, and the E stands for evaluate. So looking at all of these security roles and functional responsibilities, the information security officer actually sits on the executive level, but I'm going to basically, zero in on functional, the IT security professional and IT security engineer. If you look at those two, primarily, the IT security professional is more like a vendor-neutral trained professional. The IT security engineer is more like a vendor-specific trained professional. Now, if you look at all their roles in regards to the domains I mentioned, from data security to systems and application security, you find out that the IT security professional basically functions close to the information security officer because he has the roles of managing, designing, implementing, and evaluating. But the engineer basically is actually functioning under data security, design and evaluates. Then it goes all the way down. Risk management implements. Strategic, the system and application security, design, evaluate, and implement. So you see how the specific training just puts you in a bucket. Just puts you in a bucket and all that. So, but for the guy who's vendor neutral trained, he's broad-based across all of the domains and all that. So across platforms, basically. So this is very instructive for us to take note. So further comparison, vendor neutral and vendor oriented, which is vendor agnostic, vendor specific. So it's broad-based, broad compatibility and interchangeability of technologies, tools, and products. For the vendor-oriented, it's pigeonholing, it's product-specific. Vendor-neutral, universally applicable best practices and frameworks, that's what is basically applied. But for the vendor-oriented, it's focused on specific technology and tools. Vendor-neutral, favorable foundation for career advancement. For vendor-oriented, it's not because you actually sitting and focusing on a particular product. So if that technology changes, you're actually out of business. Except you go back and move to the next technology and see the results and all that. So it broadens professional horizon for the vendor neutral certified professional. For the vendor oriented, they focus on the what and how, not the why. The why is critical, like I mentioned earlier on. For vendor neutral, it opens doors and creates opportunities, but vendor oriented is very restrictive, very restrictive. Vendor neutral, you operate under a multi-vendor capability. Vendor oriented, specific vendor capability. Career marathon, career sprint. Career marathon, the fact that, for vendor neutral, because you operate under a broad-based training across technologies and tools and all that, you are not, your longevity is spread over a long time. That's why it's a marathon. But for the vendor oriented, it's sprint. Once the new technology is available, the person certifies that technology, and suddenly it goes out of relevance. The new technology comes in. So it's sprints, so short hauls. But for the vendor neutral, it's career marathon, and that's what people desire basically. Skill and competence longevity loses currency quickly for the vendor oriented. Now it's role based. I talked about that earlier on, but for vendor oriented, it's technology or product based. So difference in application and methodology. So for vendor neutral, these are all of the features and functionalities. For vendor oriented, that's it. So that's comparison between both of them. Now, just to look at EC Council CND version 2 certification. Now, remember, I did an example with all of these domains earlier on. If you look at this, the vendor neutral, which is a CND program, which is EC Council CND program, functions as the information security professional. So it does everything basically based on the manage, design, implement, and evaluate. But the vendor oriented is basically on just to configure and protect. Configure, that's all, configure and just protect. That's basically what it does based on the training. It's not about the why. Okay. Now, why choose CND certification course? Again, it focuses on operations and processes rather than technology. Operation and processes. So it gives you an insight and holistic understanding of network security. It helps you to tackle real life problems in real time. So the course is made up of 50% hands-on labs and practical work. Then, of course, it's very concise, short, 5 days, but it's detailed learning on how you can defend the network. It's among the top 7 jobs in demand today, according to CIO by IDG. Network and information security is number 5. Top 7 jobs in demand in the world. Now, look at issue of pay, salaries. Each of these ones are network administrators. Each of the 5 people that I have here. But now, this guy has no CND skills at all. So this his pay is about $44,000. This guy has CND skills, $71,000. This one also has 62,000. This one also has so all those who has CND skills as network administrators, their pay, the salary actually shoots up. Again, that's part of the advantage of having this. Now, furthermore, the CND is mapped to NIST, National Information Security, National Initiative on Cyber Security Education 2.0 framework. It actually deals with modern network security technology and techniques, to modern network security technology and techniques. It's hands-on approach to learning. It helps to enhance threat prediction focus, so threat intelligence and all of that. It covers the latest tools that are available for IT security today. Now, furthermore, for a CND certified professional, first of all, you're going to learn how to protect your network. So these are some of the things you need to do. You need to be able to detect any traffic in your network, detect that traffic and know which is malicious and which is not, basically. So you need to respond based on that. So incident response, forensic investigation, BC and DR, which the vendor especially does not actually deal with. Then you need to predict. So you do risk analysis, do your risk impact, risk probability, risk impact, and all of that. Do assessments. So look at what are your attack surface and all that. Do your threat intelligence. Because in the course, all of these are part of the course. You know, it's created based on a major research that was done with industry. So it's based on that research, and it's actually job roles, tax based. Again, I mentioned all of this. So it focuses on IoT security, it focuses on mobile security, remote workforce. It also focuses on cloud security as well, threat intelligence, in-depth attack surface analysis. And again, like I've said earlier today, it includes the latest technology available for IT security. What are the trends today in certification? Now, the well-established business models has been disrupted. It's changed. So organization does not depend on one vendor's hardware, software, or technology to build its IT infrastructure. No, they actually go across platforms and get the best fit for the organization. So if you now build an IT certification around a particular vendor, it puts the IT professional at a disadvantage within the workforce. So again, increasing organizations require that the IT professionals, from entry to mid-level, get vendor neutral certification before you basically train them further, even on vendor-specific tools and technologies. Vendor neutral certification also helps to emphasize multi-vendor skills, so it gives you broad-based skills, and which is required in an IT environment. Now, going forward, part of what might happen in terms of evolution is the fact that vendor-specific certification may become specialization added to more broad-based vendor neutral certification. That might be what's going to happen, because I know that there's an OEM and a vendor neutral certification board that are actually partnering together today to actually provide certification for their product technology. So there's a mix between the vendor neutral and the OEM. So that's the trend that's going to happen going forward. Now, the independence of the vendor neutral ensures creation of programs and curriculum not tied to one technology or product, broad-based. It provides an unbiased view, delivering a balanced coverage of topics. So you're not caught in that web of, okay, whatever we're trying to do more, something that is aligned to our product and service. No, unbiased view. So vendor agnostic allows the platform to address shortcomings or issues related to product or technology. So, they have the liberty to be able to look at technologies and products and be able to say, look, these are the shortcomings, these are the issues, and be able to talk about it. Vendor independence focuses on relevant technology issues rather than promoting individual products. So they develop programs that cover products and tools from more than one manufacturer, thereby providing a more realistic perspective. Now, its broad-based and generic nature of vendor neutral certification often makes it well suited for those new to IT industry. So it provides a foundation, for those who are in IT industry, because it gives them a broad-based, foundational startup training, so to speak. So if those who are not yet ready for decided on where to specialize on, so it gives them that foundation. Now, they have more staying power For example, both Gartner Institute and Intel closed out their certification programs and transferred that certification to a vendor-neutral organization for ongoing support. So, again, talking about trends, increasingly people are going to move away from vendor-specific to vendor-neutral because of the obvious advantages that are there. So, benefits essentially. The key benefit with a vendor-neutral certification is that it provides a complete balanced approach. And of course, the knowledge base of all the aspects of IT security, including advantages and limitations of these technologies and tools. So it provides that foundation basically. It looks beyond narrow specific tools and technologies and focuses on several tools and technologies while providing a comprehensive, broad-based training by addressing the why behind the what. Now, on the individual, what's the benefit? Or the enterprise, what's the benefit? Okay, for the individual, improve job opportunities and earning potential. I showed that earlier on. Deeper understanding of technology because it's broad-based and it's across different platforms. Credibility and confidence to solve real-life technology challenges because you're exposed to real-life issues and able to actually resonate with those issues that are actually addressed in the training. Job security and international recognition. Again, I talk about the fact that the vendor-neutral CND is mapped to NIST. And also DoD, the Department of Defense in America, also that's one of the certifications actually they've actually listed in their requirements for employment in DoD. For enterprises, it helps to close skills gap. So rather have looking for different skills for different products, well, you just have broad-based skill and competence that help that actually is going to support the organization. It helps to attract and retain talent. It optimizes operations, no vendor lock-in. Then optimizes procurement. So you have the ability to actually, procure your IT security tools or products across various vendors based on your requirements, not based on fit for the vendor, but fit for your organization. It reduces your OPEX, operating costs. Benefits, that's basically the benefits. So in trying to wrap up, certification in general are still a great way to help your career, help anyone's career basically in IT. However, it's important that individuals identify which ones apply the most to their situation. Vendor neutral certification provides longevity in security, in the security career, as rapid changing technology and platforms impact vendor specific certifications, individuals, employers, and government. So we need to take note of that as well. Okay, so vendor neutral. Vendor neutral certifications are becoming the de facto industry standard requirements for hiring practices, including those for the most IT jobs in government agencies. Vendor neutral certifications will help broaden your horizon professionally, open doors for you, and create opportunities that because they provide you a broad overview of different technologies that span different vendors and will have a broad appeal within the information technology field, demonstrating to organizations that those broad skill sets validate the expertise of the profession. Now, I mean, if you're an IT manager or CIO, of course, you would not want to begin to have an expense on different skill sets across different technology and platforms. Specific, right? You want to actually have the expense on the training that will help you that your staff function across different technologies and tools and platforms, rather than training your staff on individual technologies and all that. I mean, that wouldn't be what a CIO would want to do. Vendor neutral security certification will prove to be the most applicable to organizations that use an array of different network platforms, tools, and technologies, as opposed to organizations that are fully on board with a single vendor. All right, thank you very much, and just take the Q&A now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fiani, for an insightful informative session. I hope you all have enjoyed this amazing session. I would also request everyone, all the attendees, to upload the questions in the question box. And before we take the questions, I would like to inform all the attendees that this session is in sync with the EC Council Product CND. EC Council CND maps to many roles in the industry like network security engineer, network security administrator, network security analyst, network security architect, network defense technician, security operator, etc. Anyone with the CND certification is eligible for 1,35,000 plus job vacancies globally with an average salary of $85,613 per annum. If you're interested to know more, kindly take part in the polls that are going to be conducted now. Let us know your preferred mode of training and we will reach out to you. Now, Mr. Fani, we have some questions that were sent us to us during the presentation. So
Sorry,
our
sorry.
first, we'll take the questions now for you, Mr. Fani.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
So the first question is, may I know the difference between CISSP and CCSO certificate?
Okay, basically, there are certification from two different certification bodies, basically. Anyway, so um, the CCISO is actually the advanced, is actually management security professional certification for somebody who has gone through, through the ladder over the years, gotten training, dated his hands, understands all of the underlying technologies, the compliance, regulatory issues, and all of that. And of course, understand the broad-based technologies, and now goes for that CISO training, basically. So they are from two different certification bodies. CISSP is the different certification body certification. The CCSO is from EC Council. Again, based on the global rating, like I talked about, which Richard also talked about now, the CND certification basically, most of the EC Council certificates actually are mapped to very critical government organizations like DoD, the Department of Defense in the US. I mean, of course, you're also looking at something like all of the needs. I mentioned this earlier on, National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education. So once you have affiliation to those bodies, and you're kind of by those bodies, it gives you more credibility. But like I said, there are two different certification bodies. Both are from two different certification bodies, basically. I hope
Hello.
that answers your question. I hope that answers your
Per-
question.
Perfect, perfect. So second question we have is, do we need to have a basic data analysis skills to be eligible for network security certification?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because the CND program basically trains you from ground zero up. So it's going to lay that foundation for you to be able to springboard and move up. So as long as you are within the IT environment, you should be able to actually do that CND course.
Great. The third question is, how should we prepare ourselves to all these changes being a network engineer to survive in networking field?
Okay, great. So the key thing first, we need to understand the fact that technology will keep evolving and keep changing. Now, as an IT security engineer, what is the best way for you to protect or secure your marathon race, not sprint, not sprint, marathon race in the IT career? You need to look for which is the best suit IT security certification that you need to get into to help you actually to extend your career lifespan within the IT, irrespective of technology change. The answer is simple: it's vendor neutral certification. That's what's going to give you that capability. But for vendors specific, like I said, it's a sprint. It's a sprint. You're doing a 100 meters dash. But for vendor neutral certification, you are doing a marathon. So it gives you a broad, long time, you know, competence and skill that irrespective of what happens in technology, in technical environment, it's just to add the tools to what you have. But if it's product specific, you actually at a disadvantage because at a disadvantage because you need to get recurrency. The moment that technology is no longer relevant, it changes. But with vendor neutral, we're not tied to a specific technology. So it gives you security, job security, basically. That's what it does.
Great. Um, the other question is, what value an EC certificate can add to my career in the UK?
Okay. The EC-CAM certificate is, like I said, is globally recognized and very and accepted. So I gave you a chart earlier on with regards to salaries of network administrators who have CND skills and competencies. The one that never had any of the CNDs can come, his salary actually is the lowest across the five of them I looked at. Now, what that means basically is that if you have an IEC Council certification, it puts you ahead of the curve. Puts you ahead of the curve. So, no matter the country you are in the world, it's gives you an edge. So, organizations, HR managers are looking for people who have those competencies today, because again, the value they're going to get from having somebody who has a broad-based IT security knowledge is not comparable to somebody who has IT security specific product knowledge. That's basically. So in terms of EC Council in the UK, it's going to support your growth and your promotion and your salary earnings.
Great. The other question we have is, do we need any prior knowledge on advanced networking for this certification?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like I said earlier on, you just need to have an IT knowledge. I mean, I understand that most people are here basically maybe, who are here might be IT professionals, so maybe you just graduated or something, or you're reading the field and all that. You don't need the advanced networking knowledge. No, you don't. You don't. To actually have do this network security certification, you don't need advanced networking. No, you don't.
Perfect. The other question is, how in cyber security vendor neutral be beneficial?
Well, it goes back to, okay, so for now, let me zero in on CND, for example. CND gives you capability to protect, to detect, to respond, okay, and also be able to do your forensic analysis and all that. So across the security issues and all of that, the CND certification gives you the capability to be able to, you know, do cyber defense in your organization. So the skill and competence you're going to get from the CND training, it equips you to be able to provide that cybersecurity defense mechanism for your organization. So it gives you those skills and competencies and the tools necessary for you to be able to do that.
Perfect. So one more question we have here is, what kind of IT knowledge do I need to be successful in CND?
IT knowledge. These questions are very similar to the other questions that already answered. And like I said, basic IT knowledge. Basic IT knowledge. You don't need to have advanced IT knowledge. Basic IT knowledge. That's all you need basically to be able to do the CND certification.
Perfect. I think we are done with the questions now. I would again like to thank Mr. Finney for answering those questions and for the great presentation. It was pleasure to have you with us. So this concludes the webinar. And thank you all for attending. We hope you have learned and enjoyed this presentation. Now you all can end the webinar. Thank you so much, Mr.
All
Finney,
right.
for your time. Thank you. It was
Thank
pleasure
you.
having you
And
here.
thank you all. Thank you very much, and thank you all participants for being here. Thanks. Have a lovely
Thank you
day.
so much. Have a great day. Thank you.